It's interesting to see how the landscape of popular music changes over time. It's impossible to predict what new musical revolution will take over next, but one thing is for sure, change is inevitable. Hell, in the 1950s, people couldn't believe the sexual filth Elvis Presley was spewing with his shaking hips. Now we have Cardi B and Cannibal Corpse. It seems hard to remember a time where country music wasn't being dominated by dudes in tight jeans, backward hats, singing about dirt roads, tailgates, and beers, but there's been a subtle shift in the last few years that's starting to make serious headway, not only in country, but on the pop charts. Call it alternative country, independent country, country folk, Americana, outlaw, whatever. It's clear that a more authentic sound in country music is now considered cool. Just as disco gave way to punk, new wave to hip-hop, and hair metal to grunge, country music is in the middle of its own revolution. Is this deep, vulnerable, poetic type of country here to stay? And more interestingly, is bro country officially dead? By 1991, the big record companies had almost squeezed every last drop out of this dominant genre known as hair metal. Partying, makeup, hairspray, and chicks seemed to be more important than the music, and after 7 or so odd years, the genre became a parody of itself. Still, as inauthentic as the music was, it seemed those power ballads and stripper anthems would never leave MTV. That was until a band from Seattle got their shot. Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit became the catalyst for a new generation of kids wanting something more honest, relatable, and just authentic. Spandex and hedonism made way for flannel and angst. By the end of '92, hair metal was all but dead. It's hard not to compare the rock transition from hair metal to grunge to what's going on in country right now. And while bro country has mostly gone out of style, we haven't really seen alt country's version of Nirvana leading the charge into the pop world, well, until now. Zach Bryan burst onto the scene not with a polished single and music video out of Nashville, but an introspective and emotional acoustic song titled Headin' South, recorded on his phone with the sound of crickets in the background.
Was a boy who was a dreamer, and he flew so high and proud, in a world full of people out to cut his young ass down.
Now the lead single from his self-titled album, I Remember Everything, has been on the Hot 100 for 10 straight weeks, peaking at number 1.
If people are going to trust me to be an artist, I'd want to be trusted to tell the story the best that I can. You write all your own music and you have to find the place where they all fit together. That's a really vulnerable place to be.
Zach's success can be attributed directly to how sterile mainstream country got in the bro country era. Just as hair metal became too commercialized and stopped being metal, bro country just stopped being country. Country music went from simple instrumentation, acoustic guitar, and simple songs to these massive thumping artificial bass tracks, huge percussion, programmed drum machines, and pop melodies. It was an insult from the record companies to the intelligence of their audience, and it became record industry formula.
There's never going to be another Merle Haggard or Waylon Jennings, so why try? You're not doing your fans justice or yourself as an artist if you're going to go back and copy.
Now, the pop charts are starting to reflect this shift out of something just isolated to country music. This past September, Zach's self-titled album topped the Billboard Top 200 charts for 2 straight weeks. The best performing album of 2023 so far is Morgan Wallen's One Thing at a Time. On the Hot 100 Songs chart, a 6-week reign of country just ended, dominated by streaming smashes by Brian, Wallen, as well as Oliver Anthony and Jason Aldean. What's odd is the noticeable absence of modern-day stereotypes of what people say country music is like. Then you have a guy like Oliver Anthony coming from out of nowhere with his viral protest songs against America's corporate and political elite. Rich Men North of Richmond has all of that, plus a few shots at welfare recipients, but mostly it's highlighted by his fiery and unvarnished delivery that carries a lot of weight. It's basically opposite of the Nashville plastic sound.
Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame.
So the way I sing is just the way I sing. It's maybe rough around the edges. It could be a little pitchy, or it's, you know, you're not using the right part of your face when you project and whatever. And so like on paper, things aren't quite right. But I guess to another human, it's like it sounds right.
One thing to keep in mind is that Oliver and Zach aren't here without the help of artists before them planting the alt-country seeds. To name a handful, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgraves, Jason Isbell, and Sturgill Simpson all helped grow this movement with their unique songwriting and unrefined sound. But really, it harkens back to the basic roots of country music, with the likes of Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Hank Williams paving the way. Yes, not all these so-called alt-country artists are created equal, but what they do have in common is authenticity. There's a focus on the lyrics, and their fans feel they have a deep connection with them. Likely what will happen is that the record industry will see this trend and milk it for all it's worth, and by 2 or 3 years' time, country music will be full of Zach Bryan copycats, just as the late 90s rock scene was full of Kurt Cobain lights. But for now, we can sit back and appreciate that as frustrating as it can be to see popular music be flooded with dirt-rote and beer-drinking bro-country anthems, change is inevitable, and it can also lead to relatable, poetic, and deep alt-country anthems too.